What's up, everybody? Nick Dwyer back with you for the 10th inning, giving you another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw the Warriors really officially become a dynasty, winning their third NBA Finals in 4 years when they swept the Cleveland Cavaliers. We don't have the Warriors winning the NBA championship today, but we have a lot to get into. If you all enjoy this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, you like what you see, you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get into it. This Day in Sports History. We start out today in 1898 at the British Open, and Harry Vardon wins the second of 6 Open championships and the second of 7 major championships when he was 1 stroke ahead of second place Willie Part Jr. 1 year later in 1899, James J. Jeffries knocks out defending champion Bob Fitzsimmons in boxing in the 11th round. This knockout victory earned Jeffries the lineal World Heavyweight Championship. Jeffries had a bit of an advantage here. He outweighed Fitzsimmons by 39 pounds going into the fight. He would win this fight. He would also win their other fight they had. We move up 6 years to 1905 and we go right back to the British Open, which saw James Braid win his second Open Championship of 5 Open Championships by 5 strokes ahead of Roland Jones and J.H. Taylor. Move up to 1914 and we go to America in Major League Baseball. Honus Wagner becomes the second member of the 3,000 hit club, joining Cap Anson. Wagner would get there with a double in the 9th inning off of Erskine Mayer. Wagner would add about 400 or so more hits in his career, and he's known as one of the greatest shortstops of all time. And that is due, partly, to his hitting game. We stick with baseball in 1929, and we have brothers hitting a home run in the same game. Paul Waner and Lloyd Waner. Both of these brothers playing for the Pirates at the time, they would end up losing 9-6 in the game, but Paul Waner hit a home run in the 5th inning off of Doug McWeeny, and then Lloyd would hit one in the 7th off of Doug McWeeny. This would be the second of 3 times that the Wainer brothers would end up hitting a home run in the same game. Now we go to 1934 and we go to the US Open of Golf, and Olin Dutra overcame an 8-stroke deficit after 36 holes to win his second major title, 1 stroke ahead of Gene Sarazen. 6 years later in 1940, we stick with the US Open and Sarazen comes in second place once again, runner-up this time to Lawson Little. Little would end up defeating Sarazen by 3 strokes in an 18-hole playoff to win his only major title. Now we move up nearly 30 years to 1968 and we have the first championship of the Open era in tennis at the French Open. On the men's side, Ken Rosewall defeated Rod Laver 6-3, 6-1, 2-6, 6-2. This was the first Grand Slam of the Open era which allowed professional players to compete. This would be the second French title for Rosewall and the 5th of 8 overall Grand Slam titles. Now we move up to 1973 and we see the Triple Crown from the greatest racehorse of all time. Secretariat wins the Belmont by a record 31 lengths to win in a record 2 minutes and 24 seconds, becoming the first Triple Crown winner in 25 years. Move up 5 years to 1978, move to boxing. We saw Larry Holmes defeat Ken Norton in 15 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title. Later in his career, Holmes would claim that Norton was the toughest competitor he ever had to face in his victory. Now we go to 1984. We're back at the French Open for the women's final. Martina Navratilova defeated Chris Evert 6-3, 6-1. Navratilova became the second woman in the Open era to hold all 4 Grand Slam titles at once. This would be her second French title win and the 9th of 18 overall majors in her career. Then we move up a year later in 1985, go to the NBA Finals. We have the rivalry, the Lakers versus the Celtics. The Lakers won this one though, ended up winning the series 4-2. The Celtics took game 1, then the Lakers took game 2 and 3. Celtics got game 4, Lakers closed it out in game 5 and game 6. For the Celtics, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish all averaged 15 points, with Bird and McHale both scoring 29 in Game 6. The Lakers were too much though, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, and Magic Johnson all averaging 15 plus. In Game 6, Magic Johnson had a triple-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists in the 111-100 victory. Kareem added 29 points and Worthy also added 28 points in that victory. We stay in 1985 and we go right back to the French Open, this time the men's final. Mats Wilander won the fourth of 7 major championships in his career and his second French career Grand Slam title. Wilander defeated Ivan Lendl 3-6, 6-4, 6-2, 6-2 in 4 sets to claim his trophy. Now we move up to 1990 and we're sticking with the French Open. At the women's final, Monica Seles defeated Steffi Graf 7-6, 6-4 to win her first Grand Slam singles title of 9 overall single titles. A year later at the 1991 French Open final, on the men's side, Jim Courier won the first of 4 career Grand Slam titles, defeating Andre Agassi 3-6, 6-4, 2-6, 6-1, 6-4 in 5 sets. Now we move up to 1993 and we go to the Stanley Cup Finals, which saw the Montreal Canadiens going up against the LA Kings. The Canadiens ended up winning the series 4-1 and ended up winning Game 5 with a score of 4-1. This would be the Canadiens' 24th Stanley Cup, the most of all time, and this would be their final as of right now. The Kings would win Game 1, but after that, it was all Canadiens. Paul DiPietro scored a goal in the first and the third for the Canadiens, and then John LeClair scored in the second with 2 assists in the game to give the Canadiens the victory, give them their 24th Stanley Cup. Then we move up 3 years to the 1996 French Open. On the men's side, Yevgeny Kafelnikov wins his first career Grand Slam singles title of 2 overall, defeating Michael Stich 7-6, 7-5, 7-5 in 3 sets. Now we move up to 2001 at the Stanley Cup Final. We saw the Colorado Avalanche going up against the New Jersey Devils. The Avalanche ended up winning the series 4-3, and this would actually be the final game for NHL Hall of Famer Ray Bourque. Bourque would get his first Stanley Cup with the Avalanche when they defeated the Devils in Game 7, 3-1. This would be the Avalanche's second overall title, and a great way to end the career for Bourque. In the 3-1 victory, Alex Tanguay scored 2 goals and an assist to help the Avalanche get the victory. Also in 2001, at the French Open on the women's side, Jennifer Capriati wins her second of 3 major titles, defeating Kim Clijsters 1-6, 6-4, 12-10 in 3 sets. A year later in 2002, we remain at the French Open on the men's side. Albert Costa defeated Juan Carlos Ferrero 6-1, 6-0, 4-6, 6-3 in 4 sets for his only major title in his career. Also in 2002 at the LPGA Championship, Sairi Pak with a score of 5 under wins her second of 3 LPGA Championship and the 4th of 5 majors, finishing 3 strokes ahead of runner-up Beth Daniel. Now we go to the Stanley Cup Final in 2003, which saw the New Jersey Devils going up against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. The Devils won the series 4-3, and in Game 7 they would end up winning 3-0, with Jeff Friesen scoring 2 goals, and Mike Rupp got 1 goal, 2 assists in the victory, giving the Devils the Stanley Cup. Now we move up to the French Open Final in 2007 on the women's side. Yosine Henna Hardin wins her 3rd consecutive French singles title of 4 and the 6th of 7 majors in her career by defeating Ana Ivanovic 6-1, 6-2 in straight sets. Then in 2008, in Major League Baseball, we have a home run milestone. Ken Griffey Jr. becomes the 6th player to hit 600 home runs. This home run came in a 9-4 victory for the Cincinnati Reds, and it came in the top of the 1st inning off of Mark Hendrickson. 2 years later, at the 2010 Stanley Cup Final, the Chicago Blackhawks were going up against the Philadelphia Flyers. The Blackhawks ended up winning the series 4-2, and in Game 6 they would win 4-3 in an overtime victory for their first championship since 1961. It was a pretty even game the whole way. The Blackhawks were up 3-2, and then Philadelphia scored with 4 minutes remaining in the game, sending it to overtime. In overtime, Patrick Kane scored 4 minutes into it, ending the game, ending the series, giving the Blackhawks the championship. Now we move up 2 years. In the NBA, the Eastern Conference Final, the Miami Heat were going up against the Boston Celtics. The Heat ended up winning the series 4-3, won the game 101-88. In the series for the Heat, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade both averaged 20 plus points. For the Celtics, Rajon Rondo, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce all averaged 15 plus, but LeBron was too much for him this series. In Game 7, LeBron James had 33 points and 11 rebounds, leading the Heat to the victory, pushing them on to the finals. We move up a year later and we have 3 events to get into. We'll start with the LPGA Championship. Inbee Park won her 3rd major title of 7 overall in a sudden death playoff, defeating runner-up Katrina Matthew on the 3rd hole. Then at the French Open for the men's final, Rafael Nadal defeated David Ferrer 6-3, 6-2, 6-3 in straight sets. Nadal became the first man to win the same Grand Slam title 8 times. This would be the 4th of 5 straight for Nadal and the 12th of 19 overall majors. Then finally, at the Tradition Senior Men's Golf Tournament, David Frost won his only career major, defeating Fred Collins by 1 stroke. 2 years later, we moved to Major League Baseball in 2015, and rookie Chris Heston of the San Francisco Giants becomes the first pitcher to throw a no-hitter in the 2015 season. Heston, 9 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, 0 walks. So how didn't he have a perfect game? The team didn't have any errors, no. He actually would end up hitting 3 batters in the game. Still got the no-hitter though. The Giants still got the victory, 5-0. I'd say pretty good start in your rookie season. 3 years later, at the 2018 French Open Women's Final, Simona Halep wins her first Grand Slam singles title of 2, defeating Sloane Stephens 3-6, 6-4, 6-1. Then at the 150th running of the Belmont Stakes, Justify becomes the 13th Triple Crown winner after he won in a very close 1 3/4 length victory. Justify joined Seattle Slew as the only undefeated horses to win the Triple Crowns. Then finally in 2019, at the French Open on the men's final, Rafael Nadal defeated Dominic Thiem 6-3, 5-7, 6-1, 6-1. This would be the 3rd straight French singles title for Nadal, his 12th overall. Nadal would become the first to win 12 single titles at the same Grand Slam, and this would be the 18th of 19 overall majors for Nadal. Now you understand why we call him the King of Clay. So there you have it. That's what happened on this day in sports history. If I mispronounced any names, I do apologize. If I left anything out, let me know down in the comment section. For Nick Dwyer and the 10th inning, see you tomorrow.